Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together, please. Om Jnana Timarandasya Kanandana Salakaya Chakshuron Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijna Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhana Sudadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So, reading from the introduction to the Bhagavad-Gita by Srila Prabhupada. Page 10, first paragraph. So, Prabhupada explains, the Supreme Conscious Ishvara is similar to the living entity in this way. Both the consciousness of the Lord and that of the living entity are transcendental. It is not that consciousness is generated by the association of matter. That is a mistaken idea. The theory that consciousness develops under certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in the Bhagavad-Gita. Consciousness may be pervertedly reflected by the covering of the material circumstances, just as light reflected through colored glass may appear to be certain color, but the consciousness of the Lord is not materially affected. Yes. So, this point is basic, and it is basic also to the materialist. That is, in philosophical terms, this is called materialism. You've heard of materialism. It means people that, he's materialistic. It means he wants material things. But in philosophical terms, materialism means that the explanation for reality, for existence, is contained within matter. Right? That everything is a production of matter. So, of course, this idea falls down. As Prabhupada says here, this is a mistaken idea, particularly when it comes to consciousness. And the basic idea is that matter becomes a certain complex arrangement, for example, in a human being, or in an animal, or in a plant, and then consciousness arises. Right? They have, in the materialists, they have 4 stages. They have, in their fake religion, there was a big bang. Everything came from nothing. Right? There was nothing, and then there was everything. That nothing exploded, and then there was everything. So this is illogical, right? Because nothing by definition is the absence of anything. So nothing by definition does not exist. But by illusory reasoning, we think that nothing is a something. For example, we think nothing is a dark place or a dark space. But a dark place or a dark space is something. It's not nothing, right? Nothing means nothing. So it's not there in the first place, but through our thinking, we think that nothing is something. Just like when we are in Manamoy, on the mental plane, young man, he may lay in the field at night and he looks at the sky and sees the moon and he thinks, the universe, what happens when it comes to an end? Right? Because they have this idea, there was a big bang. So a big bang means an exploding universe, right? So what's it exploding into? It's exploding into space. So space is something. So therefore they have to say that the Big Bang created space, right? So that means that beyond the space created by the Big Bang, there's nothing. But nothing doesn't exist, right? Just like if I have nothing in my pocket, that means I can't buy a bar of chocolate. So nothing means nothing. It's not something that can explode or that can expand. Do you understand the point? So it's fundamentally illogical to say everything came from nothing. This is the first truth of the materialist. There was nothing and then there was an explosion and then there was everything. But you can't say there was nothing because nothing never is. To repeat the point. You see the point? So that means if we think that the next stage is that therefore there is only existence. Because nothingness doesn't exist. By definition, we can put that off the table. Therefore, there is only existence. You understand the point? Huh? We think there is something and then there's nothing. We think in this dualistic way. That there is an existence and then there is a non-existence. But again, there is no such thing as non-existence. Because it doesn't exist. But we turn it into something because we can't conceive of nothing. Because as soon as you start to conceive of nothing, it becomes something that you're conceptualizing. Do you see the point? You're turning the nothing into something that you can think about. Is the point clear? Therefore, there's only existence. Now, if there's only existence, that means it's unlimited. Because there's no further duality. There's no nothingness that is the extension of nothing, of something. There is not existence and then on the outskirts nothing. Because that doesn't exist. Therefore, existence, Sat, in the Sanskrit, Satchitananda, Bhagavan Satchitananda, Sat. Therefore, Krishna is unlimited. You see the point? So materialism falls down on that point, that they say everything came from nothing. But nothing wasn't there in the first place. So stop saying some jiggery-pokery. And then they say that the matter expanded and it came together in the primal soup, right? They think there's a big kitchen somewhere. And this primal soup created consciousness, right? That all the explosion that came from nothing, which is illogical, then it all came together and then it became conscious. There became two things, matter and consciousness. And this is what we see in this material world. There's two energies manifest. There is the material energy. We can call this table material. But because we're in the Dham, we should understand that everything is highly spiritual. But we can say in material terms, there's matter which is unconscious, and then there is conscious things. Right? There is a tree, And that is conscious. They have done tests on trees, right? Or plants. Prabhupada used to talk about Chandra Bose, the scientist. Huh? Huh? Or he was a revolution, but there was also a professor, and he did tests. They put electrodes on a plant, and then they shouted at the plant, and then there was a reaction in the plant. But then they came to the plant and they spoke nicely to the plant. How are you? You're looking very beautiful. Welcome on my windowsill. I hope you're comfortable. Here is some nice water. And the plant had a different reaction. So the plant is conscious being. Huh? But you can't, if I shout at this table, it's unconscious. It won't become upset. So, what is making the difference? What is making conscious tree or plant or person? Just like if I say bad things to you, you will think, he's acting in his usual way. But if I say nice things to you, you'll be charmed, right? Thank you for coming to the class. Thank you for your kind attention. That is very nice. Then you feel, So consciousness carries the emotion of a person. But consciousness, what is it? It is self-awareness. Not only are we existing, but we're, how to put it? We are conscious that we exist. We are self-aware. But this isn't self-aware. This microphone isn't self-aware. It's not understanding what I say. It's hearing, it's amplifying, it's perceiving the vibration of my voice, but it's not understanding, it's not thinking. Good point. Nice class this, interesting. The microphone is just reacting. That is material energy. But consciousness, you're conscious beings, you're hearing the class and you're thinking, that's interesting, that's a nice way to put it. Right? So consciousness assesses reality also. That is chit function. The soul is Satchitananda. So the chit function of consciousness, first it's sat, it exists. And it is eternal. And then it is conscious, it is aware. And how does it interpret this awareness? On the basic level, it accepts and rejects. Sankalp, vikalp. So we are experiencing, we are aware of our existence, and we are interpreting reality. This I like, this I don't like. Sankalp, vikalp. And then on the basis of that we accept or reject. Huh? Oh, I like him. That person speaks nicely to me. Oh, that person is always nasty to me. I reject. And then we perform action. So these are the four explained in Upanishads, that we are existing, we are conscious, we are assessing reality, and then we are performing action on the basis. Thinking, feeling, willing, action. This is how we interpret reality. So this is the essence of consciousness. We are not only experiencing reality, but we're self-aware of that reality, and then we are assessing reality through the chit function, we are assessing it. And then how are we assessing it? We are assessing, because the soul wants anand, sat chit anand. It wants some happiness, some bliss, ultimately spiritual bliss, but it wants happiness, it doesn't want distress. So in the material world, this experience and assessment is all on the basis of the material energy. I like this, I don't like this. I like the warm weather, I don't like the cold weather. And then we perform actions. But this is applied to the material energy. and we are interpreting the material energy as acceptable or not acceptable. Oh, there's a beautiful sunset. Oh, the storm, it's very bad. Let me go inside. So this is how the living entity. And his endeavor is for anand, happiness. He wants. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Jivadharma, I invite everyone to read Jivadharma, very important book. He says that the living entity in the material world is just accepting and rejecting. And he is trying to gain some idea that he considers happiness, and he's trying to avoid distress. So I'm going to the dentist. Why? Because I've got a bad tooth. I'm trying to avoid the distress of the pain. And then I'm going to the nice kirtan because, it's a good kirtan today. The singer's in tune. So I like to sit in the kirtan. Oh, he's singing out of tune. I can't, he's giving me, I'm going to sit in the park and chant. So we are, and that is called Anandamoy Bhyasat. We're searching for happiness. And then the fourth aspect of the soul is Satchidananda Vigraha. Vigraha means form and personality. Krishna has form, Supreme Lord has form, he has a rupa, he has many forms, he expands into many forms, but then he has personality. So it is that personality that in the fullest expression, that is our spiritual personality. We all have a spiritual personality in relationship to the Supreme Lord, and it is inherent in the soul. Just like within every seed there is a tree. Inside this seed there is a tulsi tree. Inside this tree there's a seed, there's a banyan tree. Inside this one there's a rose tree. So every single person has swarup, and it is within the soul. Just like within the seed there is the format. It's amazing when you think. There's the format of a banyan tree. There's all the instructions. So, but that is to create the material form of the banyan tree. But within the soul, intrinsically within the soul, there is personality. That's swarup. But it is suppressed because the soul is trying to get happiness and avoid distress on the material platform. So his spiritual nature doesn't blossom. But as soon as the soul focuses consciousness on the Supreme, then the Swarup starts to manifest. It starts to feel attraction to Krishna in a certain mood. So this is the nature of the soul. This is the nature of consciousness. This is the nature of consciousness given in the Gita. But they think, the materialists, you can't have that, because that means there's a Supreme Lord, and I'm the Supreme Lord. That's the idea of the materialist. Man is God, and out of all the men that are God, I'm the number one. So that is very unfortunate condition. And so they take shelter of false illogical prophecy ideas. So anyway, first there was a Big Bang. Then the matter came together and created consciousness. Then the living entities started to differentiate. Some jumped in the ocean, some started to fly, some this. That's the third stage. That all the different forms, birds, trees, flowers, they all came out of this original consciousness. And then the fourth, and this because I saw this in a YouTube video by one big atheist. He was asked, well, you know, there was a debate by a theistic Christian and this big scientist. And the question came up, and they asked, well, what is the point of it all? He asked the materialist. And he said, well, there is no point. There is no point to it. It's just somehow an explosion, we're conscious, and there's no real point, right? But of course, the theistic person knows what is the point. We're supposed to learn in this material world and develop our spiritual nature in relationship to the Supreme Lord. So that is it's a bit like their four ignoble truths. First there was nothing. This is illogical, because nothing can't be. Then there was a big explosion that came eventually to consciousness. Then the consciousness, the ball bearings became a bicycle, and some bicycles started to fly. Some bicycles started to go in the ocean and become submarines. Some bicycles, they joined together. First there was a monocycle, and they fell in love and they became a bicycle. And those bicycles, they started falling over the cliff. So on the bicycle, the mud guard became bigger and bigger. And eventually those bicycles started to flap their mud guards and fly up in the sky. That's the basic idea, isn't it? Oh, the one with the biggest mud guards, they survived. The bicycles with the small mud guard, they didn't survive. So they didn't develop flapping mud guards. That's rather like saying that if elephants jump over a cliff, eventually they'll learn to fly by flapping their ears. The thinnest elephants will survive the fall, and step by step their ears will become so big that when they jump over the cliff, they'll fly to the other side of the river. So that's their idea of evolution. And what's the point of it? Nothing. So this is what Kali Yuga, right? False philosophy. But it's so simple. There is and you see, the thing is, this is from Acharya's teachings. There are three positions of the source. There is either voidism, there is no source. The source is impersonal energy. This is Mayavad idea, that the source is some kind of energy, but it doesn't have personality. And then the third definition of the source is that source is personal. Right? So either the source doesn't exist. This is the Buddhistic idea. Oh, everything has come from nothing. This has come into the modern science idea. Or then the impersonal idea, ultimately the absolute reality is impersonal. Nirguna nirvisesh, without qualities, without variety. But then where does this variety come from? And if the ultimate source is impersonal, how come we see personality in this road? Right? Right? A father has 4 children. Each child comes equipped with its personality, right? Even the street dogs. Some street dogs have this personality and some have this. We see personality. That is the soul shining through. The personality is manifest through the consciousness. So their idea, materialistic idea, and plus, so this is logical deduction, analysis, but also prove it. You're supposed to be a scientist. That means you have an idea that consciousness comes from matter. So now, show us. Show us. You've got all the matter you want in your laboratory. So then they get together and they get some rotting meat and they leave it, and bugs come out of the maggots come out of the meat, and then they say, see, look, matter created these dimak. You know, what is it? I'm losing my English from living in India. Worms. Yeah. But then God comes along and says, use your own meat. That's mine. I made that. You say everything came from matter. Okay, make your own matter first. And if matter came by an explosion by chance, why isn't that happening now all the time? Huh? Why isn't from nothingness new universes exploding? Be very dangerous, right? You're riding down the road, there's many traffic in Vrindavan, and then suddenly there's another big bang. Why is the big bang only in the past? Why aren't there big bangs happening all the time? Huh? Because it takes nothing to make one. So anyway, okay, you've got your matter. No, make your own matter. Okay, we'll give you some matter. But we know, why is that meat creating worms and demak and so on? Because there's already seeds there. Yeah. So of course, all these materialistic ideas, they come from, it's called pratyaksha and anuman. Pratyaksha means sense perception. I look at this world through my consciousness. I may use a big telescope or a little microscope, and I try to see things. I try to gain sense information. And then anuman, I interpret it. Huh? Oh, I see smoke. There must be a fire. Anuman. Huh? Yeah. So this is limited. Yes, you can find out things. Like they found out what is DNA, it's in the molecule. But then they measure the DNA and they think, this is junk DNA. And then a month later they say, no, it's not junk DNA. It's actually, this part is for the color of your toenails. So they're always changing their plan because they are interpreting with their limited brain, right? And they're interpreting on the basis of atheism. They're not interpreting on the basis that this was made by a supreme person, because if they start to interpret, well, it looks like only God could make the DNA molecule. It couldn't have been created by chance. If they start to say that, then they'll lose their job. It's as simple as that. They can maybe write it down secretly in a letter to a friend, but if they say in the lecture hall, it's just impossible that the DNA molecule was created by chance. It has more information than all the books in the world. It completely contains all the information to create a human being inside one molecule. Huh? And you see, in the time of Darwinism, when this started, they thought that the smallest part of living matter, the living cell, was like some kind of chemical sludge. They didn't have the instruments to see what is in. But even in the smallest cell of the human body, there is a power station, there is a data bank, there is all these different molecules and things that are going inside and creating. And when you, like, say you have an accident, you cut your hand, they'll go there, and from the data bank they will assemble the proteins to create a new bit of skin. All automatically. They just thought, oh, it's just a bit of sludge. And I have read that the human cell, it is more complex than London. Right? In London there's 12, this is the example I read. In London there's 12 million, I don't know how many now, 12 million people, and there's so much everything going on. But the human cell has more going on than all the transport, telephone systems, buses, motor cars, people, houses, electrical wires. It's more complex, one human cell. So this evolutionary idea by chance that the ball bearings started to fly, this became aeroplanes. This is no logic. Huh? What they're saying, another way to understand this is, just like, say I have a pocket calculator. If I have 2 pocket calculators, can I make a supercomputer? Say I have 1,000,000 pocket calculators. Can I make a No, because the pocket calculator doesn't contain the information that you need for a supercomputer. The supercomputer is highly complex. It has information, it has circuitry that is not there in a simple pocket calculator. So this is also the materialist. The simple cannot create the complex without putting information in. Understand? You must add information to the pocket calculator, and then it can become a supercomputer. And that information is added by a conscious being. Something external to the pocket calculator. So all these arguments are there, and they completely defeat this materialistic idea. And it's against Shastra, and they haven't proved their idea, and they never will prove it. And they're very dangerous, because once they get this knowledge, because they're demoniac and atheistic, pravritim cha nivritim cha, they don't know what is not to be done and what is to be done. So when they find out something, they make trouble with it. Like now, it's leaking out, they are combining the DNA of animals with humans. You know that? You can search for it on the internet. And they're mixing the DNA of a pig with the DNA of a human. You can see the pictures on the internet. I didn't read the article because it was just so weird. So they don't know what is to be done or not to be done. It's like you give a gun to a child. So what's this for? They create havoc because they're atheistic. They have no moral compass. The only morality they have is how I can get money, how I can get status in society, and how I can get sex life. That's their endeavor. So, I'll get this, I'll get that, I'll become famous, I'll become this, I'll become a big man, and then I'll do this. And so it's a kind of materialism is, as Krishna says in the Gita, they're lost to themselves. The soul actually has a sense of morality. Just like we read last week. Nitir. It has a sense of morality. But when you lose your contact with your soul, by becoming atheistic, you disconnect from God, then you become ready to do anything. You become a criminal. So then you become bound by the laws of karma, and your destination is unfortunate. You have to learn the hard way. So anyway, we're supposed to finish all this, right? But you see, Prabhupada's purports are so full, right? So, yes, may be pervertedly reflected by the covering of material circumstances. Just as light reflected through colored glass may appear to be a certain color, but the consciousness of the Lord is not materially affected. Yeah, that's also an important point. The soul, only the consciousness of the soul is polluted. We were talking about, but the soul is never polluted. Just like somebody who's attracted to alcohol. He's polluting his consciousness, but that alcohol doesn't go into his soul. You understand? The soul always remains. So the sunlight can be affected by green glass, blue grass, red grass, but the soul is not. The sun is not changed. You can change the consciousness or the effulgence of the sun, but you can't change the sun. So the soul is always remaining pure, but the consciousness becomes polluted. And how do you make the consciousness clean? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, Lord Krishna says, Maya Dakshena Prakriti. When he descends into the material universe, his consciousness is not materially affected. Yeah, the Supreme Lord, he always, because of his potency, is not affected. But we, if we try to enjoy matter, we become affected. If he were so affected, he would be unfit to speak on transcendental matters, as he does in the Bhagavad-Gita. One cannot say anything about the transcendental world without being free from materially contaminated consciousness. So the Lord is not materially contaminated. Our consciousness at the present moment, however, is materially contaminated. The Bhagavad-Gita teaches that we have to purify this materially contaminated consciousness. In pure consciousness, our actions will be dovetailed to the will of the Ishvara, and that will make us happy. So we become in harmony with the source. We become in harmony with Krishna. Just like the son. If he's in harmony with his father, then all the facility of the father is there, and the love of the father. But if he turns the back on the father, then there's discord. So the natural function of the soul is a loving attitude to the Supreme Person. Because just like we love our father naturally, or we love our mother naturally, so it's natural for the soul to love the Supreme Source, the Supreme Person. That will make us happy. It is not that we have to cease all activities. Rather, our activities are to be purified, and purified activities are called bhakti. Activities in bhakti appear to be like ordinary activities, but they are not contaminated. An ignorant person may see that a devotee is acting or working like an ordinary man, but such a person with a poor fund of knowledge does not know that the activities of the devotee or the Lord are not contaminated by impure consciousness or matter. They are transcendental to the three modes of nature. We should know, however, that at this point our consciousness is contaminated. When we are materially contaminated, we are called conditioned. False consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am the product of material nature. Right? We discussed this. This is called false ego, ahankara. One who is absorbed in the thought of bodily conceptions cannot understand his situation. Right? He's full of illusory ideas. Bhagavad-Gita was spoken to liberate one from the bodily conception of life, and Arjuna put himself in this position in order to receive this information from the Lord. One must become free from the bodily conception of life. That is the preliminary activity for a transcendentalist. One who wants to become free, who wants to become liberated, must first of all learn that he is not this material body, right? Number one point. We're the spirit soul within the body, which is the source of consciousness. Mukti or liberation means freedom from the material consciousness. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, also the definition of liberation is given. Muktir hitavan rupam swarupena vavashtiti. You see that? Swarupena vavashtiti. That is in the, I think, third canto. Swarupena vavashtiti. Liberation means to become situated in your swarup. In your just like the tree is liberated from the seed, you can say. He's still the seed, but when his form is manifest. So, because our spiritual form is not manifest, we can become distracted by Maya. But when the spiritual form is manifest through Krishna Prem, Maya is not strong enough to cover us. Swarupena. So mukti means to be situated in your spiritual form, your swarup, your relationship to Krishna. This is Bhagavatam. Muktir hitavan gitarupam swarupena bhavastiti, to be situated in swarup. Mukti means liberation from the contaminated consciousness of this material world and situation in pure consciousness. All the instructions of Bhagavad-Gita are intended to awaken this pure consciousness, and therefore we find at the last stage of the Gita's instruction that Krishna is asking Arjuna whether he is now in purified consciousness. Purified consciousness means acting in accordance with the instructions of the Lord. This is the whole sum and substance of purified consciousness. You see, the Supreme Lord, He wants us to take His advice. He's given us free will, but and so in the spiritual world, out of Krishna Prem, everyone is spontaneously acting in Krishna Prem. But in the period of sadhana, that is a little difficult, because we have to choose the spiritual side and we have to perform austerity on the material side. We have to give up meat eating, gambling, so many materialistic activities, and we have to discipline ourselves. That's the austerity of sadhana bhakti. But in the spiritual world, everyone is acting spontaneously out of Krishna Prem. Yes. All the instructions of Gita are intended to awaken this pure consciousness, Krishna Prem. And therefore we find at the last stage of the Gita's instructions that Krishna is asking Arjuna whether he is now in purified consciousness. Purified consciousness means acting in accordance with the instructions of the Lord. This is the whole sum and substance of purified consciousness. Consciousness is already there because we are part and parcel of the Lord, but for us there is the affinity of being affected by the inferior modes. But the Lord, being the Supreme, is never affected. That is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the small individual souls. What is this consciousness? This consciousness is I am, self-awareness. Then what am I? In contaminated consciousness, I am means I am the Lord of all I survey. I am the enjoyer. I am the body. The world revolves because every living being thinks that he is the Lord and creator of the material world. Material consciousness has two psychic divisions. One is that I am the creator, and the other is that I am the enjoyer. But actually the Supreme Lord is both the creator and the enjoyer, and the living entity, being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, is neither the creator nor the enjoyer, but a cooperator. Very interesting, the way Prabhupada, a cooperator. He is the created and the enjoyed. For instance, a part of a machine cooperates with the whole machine. A part of the body cooperates with the whole body. The hands, legs, eyes, and so on are all parts of the body, but they are not actually the enjoyers. The stomach is the enjoyer. This is an example, of course. The legs move, the hands supply food, the teeth chew, and all parts of the body are engaged in satisfying the stomach, because the stomach is the principal factor that nourishes the body's organization. Therefore, everything is given to the stomach. That's the problem, right? The materialists, they have billions, the bankers. They have trillions and trillions, but they want more. They're like a stomach that's never satisfied. Right? It's like, say you had a stomach and you had a good meal, 3-4 chapatis, nice sabji, but then your stomach became bigger. So then you have to eat more. So these materialistic people, they are trying to supply a fire, but the fire becomes bigger. So the materialist is never satisfied, even if you have $1 trillion, even if you have more money than Bill Gates. What do? You make trouble for people with stupid vaccine programs. Huh? So they're mad, but not satisfied with trillions, so now they have to have power. Then they become Rakshasa, right? The Asura wants to enjoy. But then because he can't enjoy, you can only eat so much, but then he wants to be the controller. And that's the Rakshasa bhav. I want to be the controller. The Asura, I want to enjoy. Oh, wine, women, song, it's so nice. Well, I'll just finish this, or else Mataji will give me a shouting. I've just got one paragraph. Just a second. The hands, legs, eyes, and so on are all parts of the body. The stomach is the enjoyer. The legs move, the hands supply the food, teeth, chew. All parts of the body are engaged in satisfying the stomach, because the stomach is the principal factor that nourishes the body's organization. Therefore, everything is given to the stomach. One nourishes the tree by watering its root, and one nourishes the body by feeding the stomach. For if the body is to be kept in healthy state, then the parts of the bodies must cooperate to feed the stomach. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the enjoyer and the creator, and we, as subordinate living beings, are meant to cooperate to satisfy him. This cooperation will actually help us, just as food taken by the stomach will help all other parts of the body. If the fingers of the hand think that they should take the food themselves instead of giving it to the stomach, then they will be frustrated. The central figure of creation and of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, and the living entities are cooperators. By cooperation they enjoy. The relationship is also like that of the master and the servant. If the master is fully satisfied, then the servant is satisfied. Similarly, the Supreme Lord should be satisfied, although the tendency to become the creator and the tendency to enjoy the material world are there also in the living entities, because these tendencies are there in the Supreme Lord, who has created the manifested cosmic. That's have you noticed that now? Because we have the tendency to consider, I'm the creator, I'm the controller, I'm the enjoyer. And then Prabhupada explains why that tendency comes out of the soul in the materially situated person. We'll say that again, very interesting. Although, similarly, the Supreme Lord should be satisfied, although the tendency to become the creator and the tendency to enjoy the material world are there also in the living entities, because these tendencies are there in the Supreme Lord. Right? So Krishna is the supreme controller and enjoyer, creator. So we are also, because we partake the same nature. The spark has the same nature as the fire, but that nature is small in quantity and it's dependent on the fire. But if the spark thinks that I'm the fire, then he'll jump out of the fire and wander around in the forest of the material world. But we have that tendency, but that tendency manifests only when we are Bahirmukh. Bahirmukh. We're looking away from the Supreme Lord. I don't want to be this cooperator. I want to be the supreme controller. You see? And then the tendency to consider ourselves the creator enjoyer develops in isolation to the Supreme Lord. You see? So that is repaired when we turn towards the Supreme Lord and we perform sadhana bhakti, navavidha bhakti. We gain knowledge, shravanam, we do smaranam, kirtanam, padasevanam, and then our true nature blossoms, Nityasiddha Krishna Prem Sadhakabanai Shravanadi Sudhajite Karidevadai. And then that tendency to be creator and enjoyer acts. We don't lose it because it's part of the soul, but we become the creator in our relationship to the Supreme Lord. And that is the real function. Because in the spiritual world, Prabhupada explains, master and servant, but our function is to be creative in our service. You understand? We are creating and enjoying our service. Just like the child. The mother is showing the child how to cook some cookies. Then the child learns and cooks some cookies and offers them back to the mother. Look, Mummy, my cookies are better than yours. And then the mother enjoys, right? So this is the real function of the soul, to be creative in the Supreme Lord's service. Not like, like this. This is not going to change its opinion or create something. It's waiting for instructions. So when we hear that the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Controller, His control is to facilitate our expression. Just like a good musician, he learns theory of music, but then he makes his own music, right? He expresses himself through his own music. And everybody, when they learn an instrument, they develop their own voice, right? Their own voice, their own way of playing music. And sometimes you can listen to some music, I know who that is. That's Tchaikovsky. Sounds like Tchaikovsky. Huh? Oh, that sounds like, whoever. So everyone has their own voice, their own way of expressing and being creative in the service of the Lord. You understand? And that is spontaneous bhakti. That is rag bhakti. So we must remember that when we're performing sadhana, yes, we are doing regulated devotion, chanting, going Mangalarti, trying to develop good character. But we should also learn to express ourselves, not become like a clone. We should, because spiritual life means to develop your own self in relationship to the Supreme Lord. Huh? So Krishna is a musician, so we're all musicians, right? The children, when they hear the little child in the temple hears music, and he doesn't think, what am I going to do? It sounds funny. No, he dances. Because Krishna is dancer, he's Nataraj. So we are dancers also. So we are singers, we are musicians, we are dancers, we are creators in our own way. And in the light of our relationship to the Supreme Lord, that is Swarup, that is manifestation. And that is the perfected stage. So we must have this is Prayojan Tattva. Prayojan Tattva means the goal, the necessity. And it is achieved by Abhideya, sadhana bhakti. And Abhideya is performed on the basis of Sambandha Gyan, knowledge, philosophical knowledge of the relationship between Krishna and his energies. So that's Bhagavad-Gita. So,
3 months ago, Bill Gates' wife divorced him.
Who? Your wife divorced you? You're a nice gentleman. You're a gentleman. Let me talk to her. Sorry, Prabhu. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. What's that? Say again.
3 months ago, Bill Gates' wife divorced him.
Yeah, Melinda Gates. Yeah, he got a lot of money because at every gate you have to pay. He has a bill at every gate. You have to pay for Windows 95, then you have to pay for 98, then you have to pay for this. So at every gate there's a bill. Well, yeah, that's because she found out that he was doing things other than nice things. Anyway, I don't want to get personal, but he's... Anyway, go ahead.
As in this introduction, very important part beginning of spiritual life is like...
Oh, just I want to say one thing. That he was giving polio vaccine in Africa. You know his Bill and Melinda Gates? And they gave all these polio vaccines, and they reacted with all their African, children, and many of them became crippled and in terrible condition. And he was thrown out of Africa. You can look it up. And now he's pushing these dangerous things in society. So this is madness. Anyway, go ahead. So no wonder she left him. Because he wanted to give her a vaccination. She said, no, I'll take half the money instead. Right, in America they get half the money. You were working at the gate, charging people. Now I'll have 50%. That's better than sitting with you. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. She jumped. He drove her so crazy, she wanted to jump out the window. Out the windows. Anyway, go on. I hope he hears this class. Anyway, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't. Be careful when you go near his house. Somebody may be jumping out the windows. Anyway, go ahead. Huh?
One cannot say anything about the transcendental world without being free from the materially contaminated consciousness.
One cannot say?
One cannot say anything
about
the transcendental world without being free from the materially contaminated consciousness.
Oh yeah, that's qualification of Guru. Should be uttamadikari, should be liberated soul. Because muktir hitavan yata rupam swarupena bhavastiti. That is bhava bhakti. So at bhava bhakti, then there's direct realization of transcendence. So that person is qualified to describe the transcendental world. But that doesn't mean to say that a person on a lesser degree shouldn't enter into discussion. You understand? The Madhyamadikari, the neophyte sadhaka, he should also attempt to describe what he knows. But of course, the big acharyas, this is talking about the big acharyas, Mahajyena Gatasva Pantha. You know, the big acharyas, they just like there is Yudhisthira Maharaj, there's Ambarish Maharaj. These are big acharyas. So they have described the spiritual world through their own realization, the 6 Goswamis. So we can study that, and we can describe that, we can convey that. But we should always remember that the realization of Krishna is not limited. Krishna is unlimited. So even the acharyas are learning new things, right? Just like music. It's not that you play sitar or guitar, whatever, you play madanga, and then suddenly you come to the end of the sitar. No, there's always more to learn. Music is a very good analogy. So, if you know a little of guitar or sitar or harmonium, you can teach that much, and that will help you improve. You understand? Maksita matkata prana bodhayanta parasparam. So that's there in the Gita. The devotees, they discuss their realizations with one another. Is that satisfying? Yeah. But we should always, that's why it's Shastra, Veda, Acharya, and then Guru. 3 authorities. So we, just like in our Brahma Sampradaya, the Sampradaya Acharya is Madhvacharya. So he gives the root interpretation of the Vedanta Sutra. And then on the basis of that, we understand. Huh? Sorry? Oh, issue.
Like in this introduction, this thinking, like the first step is like we should realize that we are not this body.
Yes.
But in course of practicing Krishna consciousness, this in our like a mind or back brain, this thing comes. So I born in India, so I'm better, or I born in India, I'm better in spiritual life, or I born in, let us say, Ayodhya, I'm better, or I born in South India, I'm better. I born in America, I'm better. So this is also like godly conception?
Yeah, there's better, yeah.
So how,
If we look in the mirror when we're brushing our teeth in the morning, if we brush them, which is advisable, if we think this is my face, we should have a sign on the mirror, you are not the body. And then at the bottom of the mirror, you can put thank God. Because if we're this body, the future's not good. But we are the spirit soul. So yeah, you see, we attain, particularly in Kali Yuga, we attain Krishna by pure chanting, right? But one of the offenses against the holy name, what is it? To maintain material attachments, right? So if we're sitting down thinking, I'm Indian and I'm chanting, that we're chanting, that's good. But we should be sitting down thinking, I'm a spirit soul and I'm using this body to chant. If we think, oh, I'm a woman and I'm chanting, then we're still maintaining material attachment. You understand? So therefore, explain this many times, before we do some yajna, particularly japa, we perform what's called bhuta shuddhi, purification. Through knowledge we think, I'm not this material body, I'm the soul, but I'm chanting from the spiritual, with the spiritual conception. Yeah, I know many people, you see, we have to be careful. We have false ego, Prabhupada mentioned. So in the material world we may have one false ego. You know, I'm the son of a businessman. I'm the son of a politician. I'm the son of a doctor. We have a material conception. So we must be careful that when we come to spiritual practice, we don't just change into another false ego. You understand?
yes.
Oh, I'm the temple president. I'm in charge of the kitchen. I'm a senior devotee. You know what I mean? This is all it's based on our material assessment of ourself, right? We're thinking, but we should always try to find the soul within. Understand? We can be president, we can be in charge of this and that, but we should be what's called self-situated, right? I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm the soul within. And that soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And now I'm chanting as an offering, as yajna. And I'm performing my service. Like that's the difference between Yudhisthira Maharaj and Duryodhana. Right? Duryodhana is thinking, I'm the big cheese. I'm the big man. The Pandavas are in the forest, and I'm the big controller and enjoyer. Krishna didn't want that kind of leader. He wanted Yudhisthira. Yudhisthira is thinking, I'm the servant of Sri Krishna. I'll become the ruler of the country for his pleasure, and I'll take care of the praja, the people. Right? I won't exploit them. Just like in the Mahabharata, Rantidev, King Rantidev, he he was such a king, he was always calling Brahmins to come to his kingdom. Oh, you're a learned Brahmin, come to my kingdom. Here's a nice land, some cows. Here's you teach the people. Huh? That was his concern. So that is the function of the Prajapati, the Kshatriya. He should care for the people like a father. And then the people feel, oh, I'm protected, I'm loved, I'm valued. But the demon, and we see this in Kali Yuga, there are many good politicians, there's no doubt. But the demonic idea is I'm in charge and they're serving me. This is the Rakshas bhav. This is Ravana. This is Hiranyakashipu. Because I'm in charge, I'm the boss. And then death comes. Ravana, you may be a big man, but death is more powerful. Yeah?
One more question.
Excuse me?
One more question.
Why not?
Prabhuji, he is Dr. S.K. Singh.
Oh, you're a doctor. We're talking about doctors.
Yeah, Ayurvedic doctor. Yeah, what are all we discussed, I share with him.
Uh-huh.
So he accepted Krishna's beautiful form with flute, everything. He also chanting every day 32 runs minimum.
Wonderful.
And he mostly attracted with the impersonal form of the Lord. Like Krishna is the taste of water, Om is Krishna's representation. Like this, he is mostly impersonal form of the Lord, Krishna. I don't know how to...
Well, Prabhupada gives the example that at night time you see a light appearing in the distance. And you say, oh, it's a light. And then it comes closer. So that's like Brahman understanding. That spirit is different from the darkness. Spirit is different from matter. But then the train comes closer and you see, hey, it's not just a light, it has form. And that form is emanating the light. So that's like Paramatma realization. It's becoming closer. Because the light, it comes from a form. This bulb is the form and the light is coming. But from a distance we may just see light. But when we come into the room we see form. So then the train comes nearer and we say, oh, the train is emanating the light. That is Paramatma realization. And then the train comes nearer and nearer and we see that inside the train there's so many people and they're enjoying, having some chai, talking with their friends. So the first realization is to understand Brahman, spirit. But the form, the spiritual effulgence is coming from the form of Krishna.
Name of God is Krishna?
Krishna is one name.
Name of God is Krishna?
Yes.
Then why will not put anywhere, everywhere, Krishna behind Om? We chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Why will not chant Krishna Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva?
Well, we follow what the Acharyas have prescribed. Veda Vyasa has prescribed this. But Om means Krishna.
Then I'm cutting you right. Sorry for that. Behind of chanting Krishna, if I will chant Om, is it good or not? Is it right or not?
Oh no, it's in the Vedas that all sacrifices, for example, we talk about Buddha Shuddhi. You know, before chanting, you should realize or remember that you're the soul. So one very simple way to do that is to chant Aum. And this is compressed form of the Vedas.
Yeah.
In the Gita, Krishna says, of all sound, I am Om, I am Omkara.
Yes.
So that is another form of Krishna. But let me tell you,
Yeah.
how Om is Krishna and all his energies. First letter is A.
Yeah.
So then A. So this is written A.
Right.
and then U.
O, U, Ne, Ne.
Yeah.
It's,
So then
there are 5 words.
4 actually. 4.
A, O, U, Ne, and Ne.
No, that is the alphabet.
Okay.
But I'm explaining Om. So first is A.
Yeah.
So A is the basic sound. Right? All consonants are sounded with A. Na, ma, ba, ra, A. So A is the origin. And then it's even in the way it's written. So out of the A becomes written a little line.
Yeah.
That is U. So that is the spiritual energy. It's connected to Krishna. So the spiritual energy is connected to Krishna directly. So A, U, and then Ma. Now that is in this form,
Yeah.
right? But it's not touching. This is the A. This is the. It's not touching
Okay.
the material. It's not touching the spiritual energy.
Okay.
It's the separated energy.
Yeah.
So that is the material energy. And then what is above the, Chandra, the shape? The dot. That is the living entity.
Living entity.
So this is Krishna A, this is the spiritual energy, this is the material energy separated, and we are separated from the spiritual energy by the material energy. So in Vishnu Puran is explaining there's three energies that emanated, 3 basic divisions. There is the spiritual energy, there is the material energy, and then there is the living entity. So even in Om, this is the whole of the Vedas, is expanded from Om. So therefore, in many formal yajnas, the first thing the Brahmin will chant is Om. And also to chant it properly, we chant A, U, M, and then the vibration. This is how you write, that is yogic. Om. This is how you can raise the Kundalini.
Yes.
You can do it loudly or you can do it within the mind. So it's very powerful. So it is another form of Krishna. You see?
Both are same.
Yes. So even in a circumstance, like say you're in the public and somebody annoys you, or you can recall Om and you become centered again. Because we don't want to become agitated by the material world. So Om is very powerful mantra. And way back in the, before I read Gita, I came to India after college, and I traveled around India. And traveling that was way back in the 70s, and traveling around and staying with the sadhus. And they taught me to chant Om. So I used to chant Om. And I found, wow, this is very powerful.
It is powerful.
Yes. So the mantra is very effective, very powerful. And it's another form of Krishna. So Krishna means, Krish means that which pulls, and Na means frees one from the material world. So Krishna means all attractive, because he pulls you to himself, and Na, he makes you reject the material world. That is one interpretation of Krishna. Just like Ram. Ram means what? Spiritual pleasure. Atma Ram, pleasure of the self. So all the names, they have meaning, and particular meanings. So Om is the summation of all the Vedas. They've emanated from the absolute truth. So Krishna is what but then in Golok, the gopis call Krishna Khan.
Krishna Khan.
Khan.
Yes.
Kaniya. Yeah, you see, there's even friendly name,
Yes.
nickname of Krishna.
Oh,
In
Khan,
Krishna.
Khan,
Yeah, hey Khan, what are you doing? Why are you beating Agasura? So that is a familiar name of Krishna. So, according to Leela, Krishna, Gopi Jana Balabhaya. He's the lover of the gopis, and he's beloved of the gopis. Yeah, so many names.
One question I'm having in my mind. I feel sorry if I should be stupid.
No, don't worry about that. I'm more stupid than anyone in the room.
You said before sometimes that feel this body like a soul.
Excuse me?
You said that feel our body, not a body, it's a soul.
It's a jacket or a vehicle.
Our body, you have said that feel your body is like a soul. It's not our body. It's
A shirt.
Soul. Soul.
Oh, soul. Yeah, we're not the body, we're the soul within the body.
But somebody slapped me. When somebody slapped me, he's slapping me.
He did that to you?
Please.
Oh, okay. Don't do that. Okay.
No, he's my good friend.
He's very gentle.
He's a gentleman.
Anyway, okay.
If somebody slapped me, he's slapping me or he's slapping to the soul. Or should I slap him or should I slap to the soul?
Well, don't ever slap a Sikh. Because they have Kshatriya bhav. No, you are conscious of the body.
Yeah.
Because the consciousness is pervading the material body.
Yeah.
So in one way, if somebody slaps you, he is touching your soul. But he's touching the consciousness. You
Then should I touch his?
Well, in sadhana bhakti, two things very important. We should develop knowledge, basic Gita, Bhagavatam, but we should also develop merciful karunika titikshava.
Anytime we should be merciful.
As far as possible. But we have to defend ourselves, if there's danger.
But we defend ourselves, then it goes to the body. If soul never got anything harmful, soul never got fired, soul cannot
Yeah,
the
but
body can be fired.
Yeah, but we have to maintain the body, because
So that it is not a soul, it is body.
Yeah, well, we maintain the body because this is the vehicle of our service. We're using the body in the service of Krishna. So we can't artificially think I'm the soul and I have no connection with the body. Now, on the highest levels of bhakti, that may be possible, an avadhuta.
It's not so easy to think about that we are soul. It will make many things.
Yeah, so to come to that realization, that's sadhana. Sadhana means practice.
Yes, but it's not so easy.
Yeah, it's not so easy.
Every time we realize that it is our body, it's not a soul.
Yeah, but there are various yogic principles you can do. Say he slaps you.
Yes.
You can take it personally. Why is he attacking me? There's no, I didn't do anything wrong. But you see, usually in this world, you're a doctor, people are acting on their own impulse.
Yes.
They're not, he's hitting you, not because of your fault so much, but because of his fault.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, I understand.
So then don't take it personally. Like if we're walking in the marketplace and somebody says, "Oh, you're a fool." He's acting on the basis of his impulse, his personality. I may be sparking that reaction, but it doesn't mean... So therefore, this is a basis of becoming tolerant. That we think, people may say bad things to me, may do this or some problem, but really that's them acting. Right? Just like a referee in a football game. Right? One side of the players are saying, "You're a fool. You gave the penalty." But the referee doesn't care. He says, they're just angry because they've lost the penalty. You understand?
Yes, I
They're just reacting on their impulses.
Yes.
But my job is to follow the law of the game. So I have to give the penalty. So he doesn't take it personally. So this is a good way to become tolerant. Just like you're a doctor. Somebody may come to your surgery and they say, oh, you're a crazy man, you doctor. But then you think, oh, this man has a fever, he's lost his mind, let me help him. You don't take it personally, you just think he's sick, he has a mental problem, so now let me help him.
When we hungry, our body is hungry, our soul is hungry. When we feel hungry, I want food, I want to get some food, then my body is going hungry or my soul is going hungry.
Well, the hunger of the body is acting on the soul's consciousness.
But the soul never acts.
Well, in the spiritual world, this is very interesting. I've read this in Sandarbhas, that in the spiritual world, in this material world, there's 4 things that the body wants.
Yes.
It wants to eat, wants to sleep, it wants to defend, and it wants to enjoy sensuality.
Okay.
So in the spiritual world we have to eat,
We have to eat.
or else the body deteriorates.
Yes.
We have to sleep, or else the mind becomes very disturbed. We have to defend everything,
Yes.
or else we're in danger. And in the spiritual, and also in the material world, we're driven for hunger, for sex life.
Yes.
But now in the spiritual world, people don't eat because they have to. It's just another part of the Leela.
Soul eats sadhana.
Yeah, the soul wants, well, ultimately that's a...
Food of soul is sadhana.
Huh?
Food of soul is sadhana.
Yes. Well, it awakens the soul to the spiritual platform.
Yes.
But the hunger of the soul is to find the Supreme Lord, to find bliss. Yes.
Chanting.
Yes. But in the spiritual world, people are not eating because they're hungry. They're eating because it's Leela.
Yes.
You understand?
Love.
Yeah. And therefore, we don't say, oh, that he's sleeping. We say he's taking rest. Just like Mahavishnu, he's having yoga nidra in the causal ocean in the Bhagavatam. So this is his Leela. So in the Golok, people are resting. There's a progression of time. But they are resting not because they're exhausted, but it's another Leela. You understand? Krishna is dancing with the gopis, not out of a hunger, but out of Leela.
It's all the Leela.
So that's the purified consciousness. In the material consciousness, there is a desire or a necessity for the material things. You understand?
Yes.
If I don't eat, I'll die. If I don't defend this arrangement, I'll die. If I don't sleep, I'll become sick. So this is necessity because the body is dependent. But in the spiritual world, which is the purified state, the pure consciousness, these eating, sleeping, mating, defending is part of Leela. There's no necessity. So if we contemplate these points, we see the spiritual world, you see.
Yes, Prabhu, you are right. Raghunath Goswami,
Huh?
in his Leela, Raghunath Goswami, in Radha Kund, Raghunath Goswami, in his Leela, he is eating so much milk sweets in the Leela. But in reality, he will drink hardly 1 dona of buttermilk.
Yes.
But in the physical way, his body,
Yeah.
his stomach is upset.
But he's a highly developed yogi,
Yeah.
you see. So in yoga, we want to act in accordance with our position. Just like if you're a musician, you should practice those parts of music that are suitable for your level of musician.
Yes, yes.
Don't try to play Beethoven if you're just learning the scales, you know. So yoga practice means find the practice that's suitable for your level. And then you can progress. If we try to be Raghunath Das Goswami or Rupa Goswami and just eat, 2 or 3 glasses of charch every day, we won't become strong and healthy. So that appropriate practice, and then we make progress easily. Where are you practicing Ayurveda?
I'm in Agra city.
Agra?
Yes.
He's a good massager also.
Oh.
Anytime you will give me chance, I will massage your body. You will find a relaxation.
Well, we'll finish class, then I want to speak to you about something. Okay, so thank you remaining to the end. Thank you all very much. See you next Friday. Okay. Hare Krishna.